Good morning. My name is Antoinette Clark and I will be teaching you the visual literacy lesson for English grade 7 FAL. Let's start. Visual literacy. First of all, visual means what you see. Literacy is what you read. So it's picture and words put together as one. Visual literacy is not like a comprehension where you only have a text to read. Visual literacy accompanies picture and words together. There are two parts of visual literacy that we will cover this morning: advertisements and comic strips or cartoons. Let's start with advertisements. Now, an advert can be an ad, advertisement. It's normally section C, question 3 of your language paper. There are 3 specific keynotes you've got to look at when you read an advertisement. First of all, the slogan of the product. The slogan of the product is that catchphrase or the words linked to the product. Now, catchphrase, it's easy to remember. It is always associated with a product. And it's normally when you hear it, you think of the product as well. That is the slogan of the product. Secondly is the logo. The logo is the picture linked to the product. Normally, some companies have become so arrogant that they just give you the logo and you automatically know that it's that company or that brand. So the logo is the picture. Slogan, the catchphrase, logo is the picture. And then lastly, you've got to look at persuasive language. Persuasive language are those words used in an advertisement to convince people to buy the product. Those words are normally the sale, 50% less, buy 3, pay for 2. It is normally a part of the advertisement that persuades the reader. I need this product to survive, or it convinces the people. It's basically that closure, that final closing in that tells me that I want this product. If we look at the following example, there we have the famous McDonald's arches, the golden arches. We have the logo, which is the golden M for McDonald's. And then the slogan will be underneath it, I'm loving it. And look at the catchphrase. It's short, to the point. Remember, a catchphrase is normally no longer than 6 words because people do not remember if it's longer than 6 words. So I'm loving it. We all know when we see the logo that it's McDonald's, and associated to it is the slogan. It's so easy. And you will notice there's a tiny little trademark there next to it. It means that no one else may use the logo, no one else may use the slogan. What should we look out for the next? Advertisements. The advertisers will do all kinds of tricks to attract the reader's attention. You've got to look at the layout. Now, if we look at the following layout of this Trident advertisement, there's a reason why the heading is written in capital letters. There's a reason why they use the background blue. There's a reason why they put the Trident bee cheese or the chewing gum at the bottom. Now, in your language paper, unfortunately, you will not have it in color, but you can still look at the layout, the design, the type of font, the size, the bold letters, and the capital letters. It is there to attract attention. Do not be afraid if in your paper a text is too small. Your teacher, your examiner, will always add an extra text box to emphasize the text that's too small, and then you will be able to read it. But make sure there's a reason why the picture is at the bottom, why the heading is in capital letters, and make sure that you look at the rhyme, the rhythm, all of it, because you can't chew deodorant. There already is a rhythm, can't chew. Everything is used to attract your attention. Well, that is advertisements in a nutshell, and enjoy it because it is fun to answer a visual literacy paper. Secondly, we're going to look at comic strips or cartoons. Now, comic strips or cartoons, you've got to look at three things again. Remember with advertisement, it was the slogan, logo, and persuasive language. Now you look at facial expressions, body language, and punctuation. Remember, a comic strip or a cartoon is not like a television program that you can switch on and you have sound and you have picture. A comic strip, the cartoonist has to create volume. He has to or she has to create emotion. The cartoonist has to create meaning. And how do they do this? With using facial expressions, body language, and punctuation. Now, facial expressions are from your eyebrows up to your chin. It expresses emotion. Now, you will see there we have the eyes, we've got droopy eyes, we've got wide open eyes. So the emotion, a happy face will have wide open eyes. A sleepy or a droopy person who's not feeling down or feeling down in the dumps, those eyes will be droopy. All of these facial expressions add to the emotion of the character. Body language creates movement. If we look at the following, body language. How do you know the character is happy if their arms are up in the air? How do you know if the person is running? Their knees are bent, their legs are bent, and the feet's in the air. So body language creates movement because, as I've said to you before, it is a flat piece of paper. How can the cartoonist create movement? By using body language and facial expressions to add to the emotions. Lastly, we have punctuation. Now, punctuation creates meaning. Each character speaks using a speech bubble. And how do you know the character is saying it loudly? Using the exclamation mark. If the character is confused, you have a question mark. The ellipse is used to show the character is thinking about the situation, or maybe it carries on to the next frame of the cartoon or the comic strip. You need to look at the punctuation because that adds meaning to the character's words. So facial expressions, body language, and punctuation. What's the difference between a comic strip and a cartoon? You will notice that I have used it separately because it is not the same. A comic strip has multiple frames telling a story, and it normally starts from left to right, top to bottom. And it has the normal outlines of a plot. It has a starting point, a build-up, a climax, and an ending. The ending is normally the punchline where the joke is involved that the reader enjoys. So a comic strip has multiple frames. Comic strip, that's why it's called a strip. And the teacher will always make sure that the frames are numbered. If the frames are not numbered, you follow the story from left to right, top to bottom. And you've got to look at the setting, you need to look at the characters, and again, the facial expression, body language, and punctuation. A cartoon is a one-frame story. The punchline is short and immediate. You see everything all in one. So that is the difference between a cartoon and a comic strip. Comic strip, multiple frames telling a story, whereas a cartoon is a one-frame story and the punchline is immediate. You will see that my characters speak using speech bubbles. And if the character is saying it out loud, we use the exclamation mark. Sometimes the words are typed in bold. You will see that if she's excited, then the words are typed in bold to show that she's saying it out loud. But you use the punctuation to create meaning. And the facial expressions, how do you know that the teacher is a teacher with the facial expressions? The eyes are in a line, the mouth is in a line. He looks kind of annoyed because he says, and his hands are in his pockets. That's the body language. These are all the elements that you need to take into consideration when you read the comic strip or the cartoon presented. A comic strip, you also need to look at the following: the setting. Visual clues will tell you where is the comic strip, the place, the time. Movement lines show you movement if the character is, for example, waving. There we have our speech bubbles, and look at the information. It's an obedience school, so that's a visual clue to tell you that it is a school. So it's in a classroom. The teacher is sitting down. The teacher has her arms folded. She's at the desk. We have a report card. All of these elements give you the background to the comic strip. And look at the stereotypical characteristics. These stereotypical characteristics are normally associated to if you generalize all characters. For example, how do you know she's a teacher? She's wearing glasses. She's wearing a dress, a formal dress. Look at the dog in the character who went to the obedience school. To show you he's a dog, look at the floppy ears, his nose, and the wide open eyes. Look at the facial expressions. He says, I don't think I deserved an F for the year. And there he has the visual clue that shows his report card is an F. And punctuation, look at the inverted commas for F to emphasize it. And then she responds in frame 2, I don't either, but F is the lowest grade I could find to give you. And look at his facial expressions now. In frame 1, he was to the point. He wanted to know why he got an F. And then look at his mouth pulled in frame 2. It's upside down. He got the shock of his life. How do you know he's shocked? Because of his wide open eyes and his mouth pulled upside down. You also need to look at the pun. A pun of words are the different kind of word choices. It can be used in a comic strip or a cartoon and in an advertisement. In an advertisement, if we go back to the advertisement that can't chew deodorant, so the chew is a pun on chewing gum. Deodorant is what we spray on our body to smell, shall we say, fresh. This is basically a deodorant for your mouth to keep your breath fresh. That is the pun. But a pun can also be used in a comic strip where it is a play on words, on the same words, to create the joke, the punchline. Right. And if in this case, our character dog can speak, whereas if we think of Garfield, Garfield normally speaks using a thought bubble or a dream bubble. You will see that there are tiny little circles connecting to the bubble, whereas a speech bubble has a direct arrow pointing to the character who is speaking. And you've got to also look at the sound effects. There, where John is clicking on the light switch, there is onomatopoeia, sound word is used. Yet again, because it is a flat piece of paper, how can the cartoonist create sound? How can the cartoonist create meaning, emotion, movement? By all of these elements used. Let's quickly recap. For an advertisement, you look at the slogan, logo, and persuasive language. And always consider the layout, the design, the font size, bold letters, capital letters of an advertisement. And remember the pun of words. Remember the rhythm created. Maybe there's a bit of rhyme. Comic strips or cartoons, we look at 3 elements: facial expressions to create emotions, body language to create movement, punctuation to create meaning. And what's the difference between a comic strip and a cartoon? Comic strip, multiple frames to tell the story. A cartoon is a 1-frame story with a punchline being immediate. And then our comic strip or our cartoon characters, we need to look at the setting, the visual clues, the movement lines, our speech bubbles, the outfits, any kind of clue that gives me more information to the background of the story. Well, that's it for our lesson. I hope next time when you answer visual literacy that you will ace it, and I know you will have fun just as I have fun when I teach it. Thank you. That's it for our lesson. Goodbye.